Hello, this is Corey with Creative Habitats Landscaping. Christy told me a little bit about the objectives of the job for the landscaping right here. Um, she is the main designer on this, but there are certain thoughts that I had, and my thoughts probably paint outside of the lines of some of the objectives that you gave her, but a lot of them still do paint inside the lines of those objectives. So I took the time to create this design presentation. It's just another option for you, and I wanted to share that with you. So let me take you on a tour of my ideas. So I took this photo while driving down the road and looking at this area right through here. A couple of the objectives are, one, we obviously want to make this place look great, but two, you had mentioned that a lot of people cut through here and that bothers you a lot. So we need to put an end to people easily cutting through this area. So let me show you how I recommend that is accomplished. What I recommend doing is we use boulders that we put across through here. What it will do is it will very much highlight this space because it'll be very, very visible. It'll highlight it, and it'll also make it very difficult. It'll be a barrier for people to be able to go through here too. I know also there's a gentleman who wants to do some fence work. I wanted to include that in here because I think a gate and entry point being able to go through here, even if you leave out the gate but just have the trellis right here, I think that would really, really highlight this very, very nicely. Other things that you're seeing is these are limelight hydrangeas, either limelights or oak leaves. I want to study the shade in here a little bit better. But in the summertime, as you come down and you see this area through here, it'll really highlight that area nicely. So other thoughts, other little options, you could also do some other plantings in these beds. And then just top it off, I was like, man, if you had a beautiful red Japanese maple, that would be just an excellent addition to what people see. I know down this road, a lot of times people tell me they drive down this road specifically to look at Japanese maples in the fall. So that's what I thought this would be a good addition. There's an example of what those look like. Let's zoom in a little bit closer and take a look at this area. So this is just a zoom in on the gate, and here we have the boulders. In this photo, I drew in the mass planting of hydrangea. If you'll notice, see these Elaeagnus? I've made them disappear, which they're really a negative. And I've replaced them with a positive, which is blooming, some sort of a blooming hydrangea. So this is an example of what those would look like when they're in their full glory. As we move along this area through here, my vision of that was to create a berm. In other words, we further want we want to block people from coming here, but we also want to block people from coming here. The thing about a berm is it's there. It's not it's unlike a fence. A fence goes downhill from day one. A berm that's planted goes uphill in terms of the quality. So I recommend that we put a berm through here. Here's our boulders and how it ties into that berm. I just brought in the hydrangea so you can see that. And then this is how I recommend planting it. These are Zugao loropetalum. It's a small tree or large bush somewhere in there. You could do a tight hedge of boxwood or holly or something else like that. And then you could really accent this area with some further daylilies. There's so many different options for what can be put in here, but maybe it's nothing, or maybe you want to add some more color. I allowed these spaces to be in here so that you have options to make this area look even better. I saw down the road, your place is down here. I saw down where they have done some sort of a screening already. And then not a great shot, but you can see through here. I've seen this done a lot in parking lots where people don't want customers crossing a parking island. They just berm up dirt, and based on what I see of the footprints and the wear, it seems like it works. So this is an example. It's not a great photo, sorry about that, but it is an example of what this space through here would look like. Let's move on. This is what Zhuzhou loropetalum looks like when it's in bloom. When this is in bloom, you expect your power bill to go up. The rest of the year, it is a beautiful maroon. So it's an evergreen plant, but it's just a great plant for this area. I described hedging versus just having individual bushes. That is what they would look like if you hedge it. It's a lot easier to maintain this way also. It requires less pine straw. It requires a lot less time in order to maintain it this way as well. And then I just threw in there pockets for some color. And if you wanted, this is one of many different things that we could add in there for color. But it would just, as people drive down that road, it would just really highlight your property. In this area, Christy had mentioned that you're wanting to do color. I'll leave that up to you guys. There's so many different choices in here. It could be annuals, it could be perennials, a lot of different things that could be. But the idea is to add that color. Also on these guys, so we heard some comments that people were having trouble seeing around this. I stood here and watched cars go by, and this is beginning to open up a view of being able to see cars coming here. I would recommend bringing this up more and then letting these camellias grow further. Do the same thing with this one. Now, when this is tree form, this area in particular is going to look a little bit funny, but it's a plant and it will grow and it'll be okay. But these are some great assets to your landscape. I would just change them up in the form that they take on a little bit with it. You can see here I'm representing where we've limbed those up more and then just let them grow more. Another interesting thought that I had was to add something like native azaleas. The idea of like a native azalea forest where it's a dense planting that will give you a lot of color. And here's what we're talking. When we talk about native azaleas, this is what it's a azalea that wants to be like a crepe myrtle, but this is one of the most brilliant bloomers in the springtime. There's a yellow one. There's some people walking. You can see these. It just adds so much color to our area, and it fits the feel of that part of Auburn, and that's where I would highly recommend putting them in there. Other thing about native azaleas, they do a great job of attracting butterflies and other fauna along with that. So, sorry about that. Let's take a look at this area. So I know you had some trees taken out in here. I don't recommend adding canopy trees through here, but for the sake of maintenance, I do recommend understory trees. Those are trees that are smaller. The reason why I recommend that is it's a lot easier to maintain an area like this where you don't have a lot of shrubbery. You can just go in. This is a big area, but you can go in, you can zap it with some herbicide, and then the canopy of those understory trees will eventually produce shade, and that lessens the amount of weeds that you'll be fighting against. And then lastly, the leaves from whatever those might be, as you put them down, they also provide you with more natural mulch that helps to keep weeds down. So I've also added in the pathway here. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but this is the idea of what you would see in here if we added understory trees. And these are examples. Saucer magnolia, those are going into bloom right now. Look at how this looks in here. That's just gorgeous. It's probably not going to look like this with the gnarled trees and everything in our lifetime, but this will set it up for such a beautiful, brilliant spring show. So just between the blooms up here and the blooms all falling on the ground, that would be one of my choices. There are other choices that would also work out. Again, I'm just trying to show you when you have this canopy, how beautiful it looks when you look into that canopy. If you want to go with something evergreen, there's wax myrtle. I like wax myrtle a lot because it attracts a lot of birds in the springtime. Here's ligustrum right here. It's another evergreen that works out. You also have the option of red buds. These are in a spring bloomer. Does a lot to attract birds as well. There's also some other varieties of red bud that have just some different color whenever it's in bloom, or not in bloom, but leafed out in the springtime. This is serviceberry, one of my all-time colorful understory trees. This is what it does in the spring. Again, you can get a feel for what it looks like underneath that canopy. This is what it looks like in the fall. You get 3 for the price of 1 out of serviceberry. You have blooms. The blooms turn to seeds, which feed birds and attract nature. And then in the fall, it gives you another show after that. Chionanthus. This is a summer bloomer, which is Vitex. Vitex is a butterfly bush that wants to grow up to be a crepe myrtle. All of these were turned to seeds, and again, you're going to really do a lot to sustain nature. This is one of the most sustainable trees that you're going to find. Butterflies, hummingbirds love this tree. And then in the springtime, once all these go to seed, birds love this tree. And that's what it looks like from a distance. Again, you can see where you look into that canopy. Another thing that was mentioned was the walkway and putting flagstone down through here. We're happy to do that, but you have different people with different paces. And if you have a short person, this may work out well. If you have a tall person, it's like running tires in football practice. It also adds a certain amount of cost to it. For the biggest visual bang for your buck, I would put the money into this and then keep this simple with some sort of a crushed packed gravel that's in there. So that is a review of everything. Sorry. Lastly, in here, just a couple things. We can do perennials where you do a mix of perennials. We can do perennials where you have a monotone of perennials. Another thing that I love to do in an area like that is add cut flowers and put a sign out here that says, feel free to pick. It's like you're giving a gift to the community. So I love cut flowers. This is Asian lily. This is Oriental lily. You can put amaryllises out there. Amaryllises actually bloom in the summertime. This is allium, gladiolus, and that's the end. But those are a couple of my ideas. I just wanted to make sure you had them to review them because you're going to be making an investment. And I want to make sure that whatever Landscape Creative Habitats does for you, that you're going to be extremely happy with it, and it's going to have a big impact on that area. So many people drive down that road, and I don't want to just do a collection of plants. I want to give a gift to Auburn and all the people that drive down that road and create wow around your apartment complex. Thank you so much, Corey, Creative Habitats Landscaping.